his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarry's?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they? Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them.
Tim Pool brought on this soy boy here, Luke Beasley, onto his show, Timcast IRL, and absolutely destroyed him. I mean, this thing got really heated. Luke Beasley was so shocked at how heated Tim Pool got that he just kind of sat there in silence, absolutely stun locked, because he had no response. Tim Pool is completely correct in this video. I'm going to explain why later. Let's get right into this clip, though, where Tim Pool absolutely tears this soy boy to shreds live on Timcast IRL.
I need to explain why the time frame I'm asserting should be longer than 3 years.
No, I'm saying the default, you have to have overwhelming, compelling evidence that someone has been wronged to justify a president stepping in and saying, I'm subverting the justice system outcome. Do you agree with that premise?
No.
That's immoral.
So yeah, you're making a fascist argument.
A fascist argument?
You are making the fascist argument that the hierarchical structure of government is just and should be upheld regardless.
Why? Okay, I'm not going to ask that. This is
right, and so the system we have is
I'm just not loving, and this is a way of celebrating violence. That Trump is celebrating those as far as a pardon, and in his rhetoric and in his national anthem thingy, people who attacked the Capitol. Why did they attack it? Because they believed lies about the election.
There's a variety of reasons why people were violent on January 6th. Largely that they believe the election was stolen.
You could just be like, hey, that's bad. You don't have to keep going.
I've called for their arrest and prosecution. Like, this is not a shock to my audience.
My reporting is responsible for the arrest of a couple of January 6th
My point is that if you've got somebody on a misdemeanor charge who's been held without trial, a pardon makes perfect sense, unless you're a fascist. And the system is just. So it's like Benjamin Franklin, who said it is better that 100 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. You've taken the Otto von Bismarck approach of it is better that 10 innocent people suffer than one guilty person escape.
No.
Yeah. Well, okay, you have.
No,
right?
I haven't.
No, stop. You don't know anything about these January 6 cases. You don't know why these people are in jail. You don't know that a man is in Brooklyn right now for 3 years without charge or trial. And when Donald Trump says these people have been held for too long, you say, no, Trump is wrong. Keep them locked up. That's fucking fascist. Dude. You've been sitting here with no knowledge of the specifics of some of these cases. There is a man in Brooklyn right now. I'm going to say it again. No charges whatsoever brought. He's been in jail for 3 fucking years. For you to sit there and say it is good that he remains locked up is fascism. That is saying the hierarchical system of the courts and the government is just, and the process is all that matters. And I am saying perhaps 3
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
years is enough because I actually have moral logic and an understanding of these cases. Hence, my position on January 6th has always been the people who have attacked police must go to prison. But 3 years is a fucking long time for assault on an officer. We have seen people on the far left, notably when they were firebombing shit all across Minnesota, 33 people murdered. And how many criminal charges do we get for this? When they firebombed a police station and forced the police to evacuate. On May 29th, 2020, when thousands of far leftists firebombed the White House grounds and set fire to St. John's Church and injured 100 police officers, how many fucking people went to prison for 3 years? How many of them who never showed up on that day are in prison for 20 years? Enrique Tarrio wasn't even in D.C. on January 6th. And you are saying that man who his only crime was, quote, don't leave. That's his only crime. You think he should be in prison for 20 years because you're a fascist. You don't care what the facts are. You don't care if this is unjust. You only care that the machine state has decreed you are not to be locked up. And this is the problem I have with the left. They don't know the facts. They don't care about the facts. They view morality as a blanket government stroke of the pen. And every person, regardless of their crime, should be in prison for decades.
Dude, look at his face, man. He is absolutely stun locked. He doesn't know what to say. Tim Pool, I mean, he's cooking right now. Like, there's nothing that I could really add to it, but he's correct. These people, especially, I'm not going to say everybody on the left doesn't know anything that they're talking about. Some people somehow, like, let's just use Anna Kasparian, for example. She obviously knows what's happening, and the fact that she knows what's happening makes her want to come over to the right wing more, and she gets shunned by the left wing because she's acknowledging the truth of what's happening, and the facts shows you what the left wing is all about. But most people like Cenk Uygur, and especially these people who are like, they're all the same archetype. It's crazy. They all look the same. They all sound the same. They all have the same talking points. People like Luke Beasley and the Krasensteins and Harry Sisson, they're all the same person. It's the weirdest thing ever. And what's the other guy's name? Dean Withers. Dean Withers and Harry Sisson and Luke Beasley and these guys, they're all the same person. It's crazy. Like, they all are the exact same person, the same voice, the same tone comes out of their mouth, the same talking points come out of their mouth. It's wild. But he's getting absolutely cooked right here. You can see by the look on his face, he's terrified right now. He's like way in over his head because Tim Pool is spouting off all of these facts, all these different names, all these different cases, all these people who have been held in jail who had nothing to do with anything on J6. And Luke Beasley's like, oh shit, I haven't even heard of this guy's name before. Or maybe he's heard of Enrique Tarrio, but he's like, I don't know the details of that case. We're about to see Tim Pool cook him even more because he doesn't know the details of the case. None of these people know. None of these people know the details at all. They just know mainstream media or the government told me this, so I'm just going to keep repeating that same talking point over and over again because it makes money appear in my bank account. That's what these people think. That's how Luke Beasley, Harry Sisson, and all these people work. Shout out to Tim Pool for absolutely cooking this guy because I know that he probably wanted to be pretty tame because Luke Beasley, he's a younger guy. Tim Pool didn't want to bring him on and like have the entire panel gang up on him, even though he's wrong about literally everything. But sometimes you just got to snap like this. Sometimes if I was sitting across from Luke Beasley, I'd probably do the same thing. They piss me off too, Tim. I respect them for not getting this heated the entire time. This needed to happen, though.
Rejected outright. The people who fought cops should go to prison. They did. It's been 3 years. But when you've got people who are on misdemeanor charges for having walked into a building at 4 p.m. after the riot, and I know some of these people, they walked into a building for 2 minutes and walked out, and they got 18 months for that. I don't see you defending the innocent people who walked onto a public grass at a public building after a riot had been completed. You don't know. You don't care. You've taken a tribal position and people are suffering because of it. Now you say that Donald Trump saying the injustice that we've seen warrants commutation or pardons. You say that means he's advocating for violence. This is the ultimate problem. Then you cite a press release from Maryland saying, but the right's more violent. There is a distinction between a white supremacist as a right-wing group and a run-of-the-mill Christian conservative who showed up on that day not to protest. Let's talk about Brandon Strzok. He never went in the building. He was on the other side of the building. There was a permitted protest. He walked up the stairs and he was yelling. They put this guy in prison. There is Owen Schroyer, who was at a permitted rally, who was yelling death to communists. They put him in prison and specifically cited his speech. My dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And it's fine. I get it. We try to be polite. We try to be nice. But there are so many young liberals who sit here and say, the corporate press told me that these people are bad and the machine state government has decreed it by pen. So I don't care what crime they committed. I don't care what the jury said. I don't care who was on the jury. Enrique Tarrio, who was not there, should be in prison for 2 decades. Tell me this now. Why is Enrique Tarrio in prison?
Yeah, so they uncovered with him his plot to overthrow the government.
Enrique Tarrio?
Yeah, and his organization.
What plot? Who's they? Give me some
prosecutors.
Give me some fucking data. Stop squinting at me and saying the prosecutors did a thing. You didn't know. You didn't read it. You didn't read the court papers. All you know is the fascist machine state told you he should be in prison, and you're saying yes to them. Tell me why. Give me the data.
I understand that laws on the books have been there for a long time that I agree with, that if it's proven that you had a...
He's lost, bro. He's done. He's so flustered. He's so stun locked. He has no idea what to say because he's never going to sit there and just say, oh yeah, actually you're right, Tim. That's my bad. Like he would never say that, even though he would gain a whole lot more respect from Tim Pool, from me, from a lot of people. He can't do that because his leftist audience wouldn't like him doing that. He has to just continue to fight and fight and fight, even though he's just so in the wrong. He can't dig himself out of this hole. There's no way. Tim Pool just cooked him. Like, and it's crazy because Tim Pool could probably do this with literally anyone. But especially, like I said, these guys like Luke Beasley and Harry Sisson, they don't read any court documents. They don't actually know. They're not read up on any of these cases. They just know what the talking points are supposed to be. They parrot them and they get paid for it. That's it. Whereas someone like Sam Cedar or Cenk Uygur, who will actually read the documents, you can't just like cook them like this as easily. You have to actually discuss the cases with them. With people like Luke Beasley, it's like, I'm not even going to discuss the case with you. You tell me about the case. But the prosecutor said he has no idea what to say now.
Plan, and you wanted to act on it.
What's the proof?
Then days
What's
after.
the proof?
The proof is
say the
evidence brought
proof.
forward by
Don't
prosecutors.
ask. Say it.
Communications between
What communications?
him
What did he
and
say?
the
What did he
Proud Boys.
do?
Is this serious?
Are you going to tell me why you think Enrique Tarrio should be in prison for 20 years, or are you going to say the government decreed it?
I just explained to you.
So the government said so. Is that it?
It's usually law enforcement, which I guess is part of the government.
Government said so?
Yep. Law
so you can't say why.
That uncovers evidence of communications, a memo that he crafted and sent to his organization.
Saying what?
That detailed each institution of government that they were going to try to overthrow. Then just days later, his organization is at the Capitol.
I don't think we can even pull up Enrique Tarrio.
I'm not quite sure that there's any evidence of that sort.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this. The idea that Enrique Tarrio crafted a memo outlining or they 3 months featured witness evidence issued to Tarrio and co-defense included videos, thousands of messages in encrypted chat groups, as well as a public message on Parler. On or before January 6th, Tarrio convened a Ministry of Self-Defense to coordinate Proud Boys leadership on January 6th. The chat showed that Tarrio, stationed in Baltimore, encouraged the Proud Boys as they attacked the Capitol. Let's figure out what that encouragement was. Are they going to actually say in the article? So here's a citation. Proud Boy and 3 other members of the far-right groups were convicted Thursday in a plot to attack the Capitol. A jury in Washington, D.C. found Tarrio and 3 lieutenants guilty of seditious conspiracy.
Yeah, the reality is, like, Tim Pool can do all this research and everything, and it doesn't matter. Like, no matter what Luke Beasley is told or shown, proven, the facts could be printed out and laid out in front of him. It doesn't matter. Tim Pool can say whatever he wants, and not just Luke Beasley, but any of these leftists will not care. They don't care at all. That's why it's not important to him. Like, if it was really that important to Luke Beasley that this guy stayed in jail for 20 years or for life or whatever, you should probably, if you're that convicted on something, you should probably know the facts of the situation. Like, you can't just say he sent out a memo to his organization saying that they should overthrow the government. You should say, okay, what does this memo actually say? So whenever I'm confronted on this, I can actually argue it. And Tim Pool's like, what did he say? Who found it? He's like, are you serious? Like, yeah. Well, what was it? Because there's so many different things that you could say, whether it's tongue in cheek, it could be sarcastic, it could be joking, or it could just be misconstrued. What is the exact statement? Did he explicitly say, we are going to overthrow this part of government? Or was it something that was twisted in a certain way that allowed for them to throw him in jail that Luke Beasley will never know because he doesn't care. He doesn't care about that part. He just says, oh, government says throw him in jail for 20 years. I agree. Because he's a right winger, because he's not on my team. I agree. Let's throw him in jail. It's just crazy, man. Let me know in the comments, though, what you guys think about this whole spat between Tim Pool and this woke soy boy, Luke Beasley. This is probably the best Tim Pool clip that I've ever seen, at least from specifically the Timcast IRL show. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this whole Tim Pool versus this woke idiot, Luke Beasley, in this epic debate.